actually live or what? But we'll see. Am I live? I'm gonna have to check this out. Where am I? This is just a test, people. I don't know if you're actually watching me live or what, but yeah. If this is actually streaming live, then that's great. I don't know. I don't know. Let me see here. In the studio. I think I am live now, actually. Let me see. I don't know. I think I am. I think I'm live? I don't know. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. So let's just get started. You guys, welcome to my channel. Welcome to a YouTube live stream. And welcome to Chapter 4, working on this guy right here. That is the Hasegawa F-22 Raptor 1/48 scale. So, for those not watching live, I'm going to load the intro and we'll get right to it, shall we? Well guys, this being a brand new thing for me, going live on YouTube for the first time, this is different and unique. I've got a chat window there, right here, here. Yeah, my first YouTube live video, so I'm going to try this just for something new and different, and yeah, we're going to continue working on this. You guys who watch my channel regularly, you know this is part 4. We're working on this F-22 Raptor and getting it all buttoned up and getting some stuff installed. You guys saw me put in the doors for the weapon bays last time. Off camera, what I did is I put on the doors for the front landing gear. It was pretty simple procedure. You just put them on there, put some glue on, and they fit perfectly, no problem at all. And I've done one side of the wheel bays on the wing, and again, they fit great. There's no problem there. So, but we're going to do that. I'm going to do this side. I've already got them taken off of the sprues. They're ready to go on. So we'll go to do that, and I'll change the camera so we can get a better look at it, and we'll go on from there. So here we go. Okay. So I'm just going to change my glasses out here, and we will continue on. Now there's no real lip. If you are doing this, going this route in closing up all your bays and stuff like that, you'll find there's no real lip that these sit in. They just kind of drop in there and just kind of sit. And as you can see, you can very easily just pop them right through. Now if you're doing this, you could put a piece of styrene on the inside to help line them up and get them matched up. When you do get it in there, they do kind of fit. See, now it'll sit all by its own, right? But it is easy to accidentally just pop it all the way through. So I do have it pretty flush. So I'll just run some glue along this edge, just like this, and get that guy glued in there. Okay, I'll give that a minute. I did want to go through what we're actually going to be doing today after this is done. So last time we got our weapon bays put in there, but then I closed them all up, so you're never going to see those again, right? Those are actually in this plane. Having them in there gives us a little bit of, you know, rigidity, and it's not going to be so flimsy having all this in here, right? So it gives a little bit of strength to it. Also, we've got all these little holes everywhere. What Hasegawa has done is they're going to be putting a lot of bracing in here for when we put the top half of the fuselage on. There's going to be a whole bunch of bracing pins that we're going to be dealing with to make sure everything is lined up. Okay, So this is done. We flip the page over, and we're gonna do, I'll show you guys the assembly of our wheel bay that we would be doing if I was actually doing this. I'll put this together for you guys so you see what it'll look like and how it all goes together. So we'll do that right after I finish putting on this final piece of our landing gear bay door. So this one on the other side, I spent a good maybe 10 minutes just trying to make sure it was lined up, because this one really likes to fall through. So just putting my finger in here to hold it for a moment while I get glue on it, just to make sure it's lined up like that. Just hold that for a sec. Put some glue on there. You know, to me, extra thin, the quick set that I use, well, it works quickly. That's the whole point of it, right? Let's make sure I'm lined up here. These should be flush. Flush and flat. There we go. Okay. I got a tiny bit of a gap here. I'll fill that in with my putty. You guys might notice there's the odd little white spot on this, like here and here. I filled that in with some putty, okay, where the gap is just a little big. So I've done that here also, and here. It's a little hard to tell on the camera. The brightness is pretty high. Also here on the front, okay. So the putty I used is the Vallejo plastic putty. This is a water-based. Okay, I like using this stuff when I've got a little bit of a gap, but I don't want to completely fill it in flush. I want to leave like a panel line, because when this stuff dries, it kind of shrinks a little bit, and it will suck into that line a little bit, and there you've got a perfect panel line, a perfect depth of a panel line. I love it. For example, up here, I've got a little bit of a gap, so what I'm going to do is I'll just run it along this edge here, kind of squishing it down into that crack, just like that, okay, and then I'll just wipe it away. Let's do this. Like I said, it's water-based, so you can clean it up real nice. There we go. So that's filled in, and then when that dries, that's going to shrink just a little bit, and I'll still leave a little bit of a crack there, and that'll be a great panel line for putting panel liner in there, or doing a wash or whatever, and showing that differentiation between the two panels. That'll be perfect, right? I'm going to have to do the same thing here between these two. These two went together really nicely flush like that. They're nice and close. But these two are not quite as, they're not perfect neighbors. So that's, but that's okay. I'll put them putty in there once this is cured properly, okay? So let's move on. Let's look at our instructions, put this aside for a minute, and we'll get some parts here. So, assembling your main wheel bay, your main landing gear bays. If you're displaying them open, this is what you're going to do. We're going to take a bunch of parts off of our E tree and our D tree, okay? E and D, D and E. Okay, so here's our D. You gotta grab your D. It's always fun to grab your D. Every guy likes grabbing his D. So we start with this main piece, and we got the back part too, and our two main ones. I already painted these in anticipation of doing these, and then my client tells me he wants this plane displayed in flight with all the gears, all the bays closed. So I actually don't need any of these parts now, but for the sake of this build and this build series, I am going to still put it all together for you. So you start with these, okay? You got these all done. Now these little bits on here, they're gonna go into a few spots. Little details like E43, F63, F62. They're gonna go in a couple of spots on here and here and here. And I'm not gonna bother with those. Same with these. You got extra little details that we're gonna be put in on here. But I'm not gonna bother with those because I don't actually need this stuff, right? Now one thing that's going to be useful is actually putting these together. So I'm going to need G23, which is this penis looking thing. Let's find that. Here's G23. Looks like a bit of a, kind of looks like a rocket. Okay, there's that. And then we're going to need P1. These are polycaps. Okay. So I think I have them out of the, yeah, they are right here. So I dump everything on my desk. Polycaps. So we need 2 of these. Okay. We need 2 polycaps, and we need E10 times 2. Okay. Let's find my E tree. Where are you? That's F. C. E. E10. This little plate right here. Okay. There's one. Got 2 E trees, so that means we have 2 E10s. Okay. So we're basically going to assemble these. Our polycaps are going to go in here like this. Okay, on each side. Like that. Okay. We're basically going to build a box. Okay. I'm going to put these over here so I can pull the kit back over, or fuselage. Okay. This guy's going to sit here. It's all going to kind of go in around here in this area. Okay. So this back wall, in theory, is going to sit like right here. Okay. Our front wall is going to sit kind of like right here. Okay. Now this one won't fit properly anymore because, as you can see, it's got these little pointy things sticking out on each side, and those are supposed to line up in here. But I've got the bay doors closed, which means this won't sit exactly in where it's supposed to anymore. The rear looks like it might be okay, but these won't fit anymore. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim these off, because for the sake of rigidity, I do want to try and install this thing to keep this kit fairly sturdy and not super flexible. So that should allow me to have this flush against there now. Okay, so let's see what else we can do here to add to this. This bay door is going to go on this side here, and it's basically, oops, don't lose the polycap. Although the polycap's not going to be important. The poly cap is there for when you install the actual landing gear, and it's going to go in there and it's going to hold it. But we don't need it. This guy basically sits like that, and this is going to go like that into here. Like this. Okay? Just like that. Okay? I'm going to dump this cap out. Of course, this one doesn't want to come out. There we go. Save those for a later day. Okay. And this goes like that. Okay. Then we have our front wall. If I can hold it properly. Get these lined up. Build our box separate off of the plane. Get them lined up. There we go. And one. There we go. Okay, so we're pretty much in. I'm just going to throw some glue in there. I did have a comment on my last video regarding the Tamiya extra thin glue. I had mentioned that I was running low, and when you run low, your brush doesn't dip as much, doesn't dip as far into the glue, right? And he mentioned that you can actually pull this down. I have never... So you can actually pull that off, so you can extend the length of it. And that is a neat trick. I had never even thought of that. That is a fantastic trick. So when you're running low on glue, you can extend your brush down into the bottle. That is a neat trick. I had never thought of that. Didn't even occur to me. Okay, so just making sure this is going to be nice and done. And we have these guys. Okay, these guys go on the edges, and they have to go with this slot that's closer to the edge towards the front, which means towards this piece. Okay. I don't think lefts and rights matter on this, except you have to have that facing front. And that's going to go in, we're going to slot in right there on the edge, like that. And this is all to build a little box to add some inner framework so that our fuselage is nice and firm and steady and nice and stiff. Okay, so that's everything there except for our little bits, which I'm pointed out I'm not installing. We don't need the little bits because this will never be exposed. And now you're wondering, what is this piece all about? This goes right in between here, okay? And as you can see, it's kind of a tight fit, right? But it's going to go in between these two. It actually won't fit right now, but that's okay, because it's supposed to go kind of in between them. That. Just spread it a little bit. There we go. There we go. Okay. It kind of fits right in between. Just go just that little more, a little more, a little more. Come on. Let's try this way. Now we're in. See, it kind of sits in there like that. Okay. It sits in between them. Okay. Now, this is all together, so we'll go back to this. And this is supposed to drop down. The two little buttons on the bottom of this are supposed to go here. Okay. Just like this. And that's how it sits. Okay. So I'm going to use my regular extra thin. This is my regular extra thin that is not the fast one. This one's a quick setting, right? The lighter green, that's the quick setting one. I don't want to use that one. I want to use this because I want this to be strong and not easily moved around. I want that bond to be really strong on this. Which also means I'm using a little bit more than I would normally to make sure this is nice and tight in there. Especially because there are some spots where it doesn't seem to be fully seated down. Okay. So there we go. That's in. Okay. Now this guy is not fully, I want him straight up and down. It might actually be a good point to grab the upper fuselage because it's got his center pin right there that this is supposed to line up to. So it might be a good idea to just do this and make sure that fits. Otherwise you're going to wind up, I believe when I built this plane before, I did wind up with a couple of things that did not line up perfectly. I'm just going to, I can sort of see through the intakes there. I don't know if you could be able to see it on the camera. Through the back there you can see it is lined up. I do have it lined up perfect. So I just want to leave it like this for a minute. And we'll just leave it like this. I'll put it aside and let that glue dry a little bit. Okay, because this is done. We've got to focus on something else now. Let's put this closed. We have what they're calling our afterburners, also known as engines. So I've got to paint these, and I'm going to choose. They want it painted iron. I think a gunmetal is a good color for that, a good substitute. Since I have gunmetal, at least I have light gunmetal anyway. Let's see. I do have regular gunmetal somewhere here. There we go. What I'll do, I've got the X10 Tamiya X10 gunmetal. I have it thinned, so I'll fire up my air compressor and we'll get my airbrush ready. And I'll just quickly spray those pieces. Those are E56 and E54. Let's find those. There's off of our E trees. Okay, that's this guy here. Guy there, and we want 54. That guy there. Now this is for our intake. While I've got the gunmetal in my brush, I might as well paint this too, because I'm going to need that done also. So I'm going to do the same on this one. You might be wondering, why do I have one set black and one set gray? And the explanation for that is I had run out of my gray Mr. Surfacer primer, and I had to use black to do the rest. Does it really make a difference whether it's black or gray? Well, especially on these parts, no. But your primer does give you a good base for your paint to adhere to, and so that's highly recommended, to prime all of your parts with a primer. It gives a good surface for your paint to actually stick to. Just doing a quick little test fit to make sure that goes together nicely, and it does. I'm just going to clean these up before I paint them. So that I don't have issues later when I go to install them. Of course, these two big guys, these are for the intake, but we're not doing that now, but I want to get them painted while I can. That way I don't have to worry about dirtying up my brush. So there we go. Alright, so I'm going to get my little thing prepared here for some paint. See, I got these. These are going to be, these would be going in on our weapons bay doors and landing gear bay doors. Or no, just the weapons bay doors. It's internal ribbing on the weapons bay doors. I painted these white in preparation for installing them, and then it turns out I don't need them at all. So yeah, that's fun. So what I'll do here is I'll just grab this and this, and that. Now I've got double-sided tape to put these on, and now they won't blow away when I spray them with the airbrush. This has already been thinned about 50%. I just put some thinner in the lacquer thinner in the jar. Now this is my one for spray painting. I always like to clean up the drips on the jar. I don't like paint on the threads for the lid. Okay, now I'm going to grab that and that. Okay. And I'll quickly give these a shot of paint. Okay, there's one done. Nice and easy. So the other one done. Now you might notice there is a difference. This one looks very dark. This one is much lighter. And that's because of the black primer and the gray primer, which means if I want to even them out, I need to do 2 coats. Now that one's just a little bit darker. Now honestly, looking at these two, I can't get them the same. I'm going to have to put so many coats of paint on them that's just ridiculous. So I'm going to have to start by evening them out. So, I happen to have my Mr. Surfacer spray that I picked up at the hobby store just yesterday. Went down to my local hobby store, Magic Box Hobbies in Vancouver, which I buy a lot of my hobby stuff at Magic Box Hobbies there in Vancouver. So if you're in Vancouver, BC, definitely check them out. Okay, so let's get these all black. Okay, now they're all black. Okay, and I'll spray paint this one black. There we go. Okay, now we're working on the same starting point for everything. Same starting point. This one is done. Okay. This one I'll have to let dry. Same with these. I'm going to have to let these dry a little bit. That's alright though. Okay. So as you can see, we have to do all this little internal bracing. We've got to put all of these guys in here. And what that's going to do is going to make so that it's not so squishy. Okay. When you put the two halves of your fuselage together. The challenge that this causes is if you don't have them all perfectly straight up and down, you run into some problems, right? So that's the big challenge here. Okay, our little fans are almost ready. As you can see, they're still a little bit wet, but let's give it a try. It's taking the silver, the gunmetal, pretty good. So, yeah, even though okay, there we go. They're all gunmetal now. Looks pretty good. Nice and dark. It looks like a good, nice dark iron. We'll do some accents on them to highlight some of the detail. Now that looks better because it looks exactly the same now and they don't look totally different, right? And that's the main reason why I had to do that. I'm just going to give these ones another coat here. Okay, now these are done. And I'm going to give this guy a second coat just like the other one. There. Okay. So, you guys watching me live, you're going to have to painfully watch me clean my airbrush. You guys who are not watching live, I will skip ahead. Okay. Now, just so you guys watching live, you get to actually see what I'm doing, even though I know it's not very interesting. It's just the way it is. So, I gotta get my brush, I need my pipette. One thing that is fun about Tamiya paints I don't know if you guys have heard anything about it. Recently, the Canadian government has decided that some particular chemical inside that Tamiya uses in their spray paint is Canadian government doesn't like it, and we don't want it in the country anymore, apparently. And so any Tamiya paints that are currently in the hobby stores, well, that's all there is. So if you can get it, if you're like me and basically almost exclusively use Tamiya paints, yeah, you might want to stock up. Which I've done, actually. I started stocking up on some, particularly the Tamiya, I think it's a TS13 clear. I needed some TS13 clear because I always do a gloss clear, and I always just use that stuff. I don't airbrush it on. So I did that. I went and ordered it from online. I ordered 7 bottles of it, or 7 cans of it, because I need it. And yeah, then I find out that it's not available anymore. And so that sucks. But it is what it is. The regular paints apparently are fine. It's just their aerosols that for some reason Canada don't like. They're too highfalutin, I guess, for Tamiya. And of course, you know, Tamiya's not exactly gonna change their formula just because Canada doesn't like it. We're not big enough. Definitely not big enough. For Tamiya to change their formula. And you know what? I'm not surprised. I wouldn't either. Just for one country says, hey, we don't like your formula. Well, every other country is like, who cares? It's fine. Yeah. There we go. Okay. Now, with all the painting done, we can finally get to, well, actually it's not all done. I need to do some highlights. Because yes, it is. What I like to do on these guys here is do some highlights on them so that they're a little easier to see once it's all put together. So I'll show you what I mean. Let's change the camera back here. Okay, so these two halves go together. Okay, that's a given. We already know this. Okay, these go together like that. Okay, done. So I'll grab my thicker glue. Along this edge, here, and on this edge. Okay, there we go. Now it wants to lift open like that, so that ain't good. We don't want that. So let's do this. Just make sure the tape's tight. There we go. And just for added measure, a little bit of the extra thin on our edges. There we go. Okay, so let that sit. Now I need some highlights, some details, and that's where this comes in. This is the LP48. This has got to be the shiniest silver paint that Tamiya makes. As you can see on the lid, that is shiny silver. That's, I would say it's the closest thing to chrome that Tamiya makes. It's not chrome though, it's only silver, but I would say easily the brightest silver that Tamiya makes. Now I've checked out a lot of different silvers that Tamiya makes, and this one by far outranks them all in its brightness. So I just want to do the edges of these fins just to make them pop when you look down in there. You'll see them a lot easier. And that's the only purpose for this. Is this realistic? Is it really like that when you look down the engine of an F-22? I really don't know. I really don't know. But it's going to be more visually interesting when my client looks down his model and he can see these fins with a little bit of light that does get in there, especially in the intakes. The intake ones are so far down, they're going to be really hard to see. But if I can make it so that he can actually see them a little bit better, I'm going to do that, and I think he'll like that too when he looks down there and he can actually see the fins and see that little bit of detail. That's not lost and forgotten. I don't know if you guys can really tell on this either. Looking at the camera as I do this, I know the angle's not the best, but I need to see it as I do this, so I apologize for that if you guys can't really tell. I'll hold it up a little closer when I'm done. Only a few fins left. There we go. Okay, so clean this brush. This back, clean my brush. If you're wondering what I'm cleaning with, this is just regular hardware store lacquer thinner. It's kind of my go-to for all my Tamiya paints. I clean my airbrush with it, I clean my regular brushes with it, I thin my Tamiya paints with it. Not this particular one. If I'm thinning the paint, I use pure lacquer thinner. This one's been tainted with the paint. So See if that gets a little bit, you can see the different fins, they look a little better now. Pop, sparkle a little bit, nice and shiny, so there you go. Okay, so that's that. Bing, bang, bong, bung. There you go. Okay. Done and done. So, these two bigger ones, these go in the intake, so we're going to set those aside. I don't need them right now. Our smaller ones are going to go on here, on this rounded edge. It looks like we've got notches. A notch here and a notch there. They're going to go in these two little slots there and there. That's how you're going to know you're all lined up properly. Just like that. And of course, it's a nice, perfect fit. And they do look nice in there. You can see that. That silver pops in there and really shows that fan in there. So, put some glue on there. And there's its new home. Same with this side. Line that up. Where's our notch? There it is. There we go. All right. We have the engine's done. Okay. You can take the tape off now. That is finished. Okay, there we go. So there's our engines. Now you can see both fans in there. Looks pretty good. Okay. Now it is a little unfortunate seeing that you can see the two. You see the big line there. I know there are people out there who are going to put putty in there and they're going to sand that down and make sure that is flush and thus you cannot see the seam. I am not one of those. I don't think that is extremely necessary to do that. That's just me though. Okay. We do have a little note here where there are two little, what do they call them, pitots or something like that, that go on the sides. I'm going to wait till the end of the build to do these. And so that I don't forget them, I'm going to highlight them right here. Okay. I don't want to forget them, but I'm going to need to wait till the end of the build to do these because I will definitely break them off if I put them on now. Okay, so that being said, what is next? All of our extra little bits that are going to go inside the fuselage. We're going to need F1, 4, and 3, and 6. Okay, 1, 3, 4, and 6. Let's grab our F and 3s. Down here. 1, 3, looks like we need 2, F2, 2 and 3, 4 and 6. We need all of these. We'll put these on, and then I'm going to say done. Okay? And we'll finish this up for the day. Oh, I also need F5, this guy here. Careful. Okay. This is 3. This is 2. Okay. 2 is over here. And then number 1. Okay. This is number 2. I actually want to write a number 2 on this, I believe. I'm going to see how this fits in there. This part is going to, part of this is exposed. They're showing me here when this goes in. So I'm going to have to pay attention to that. This is number 2. I'm going to put this guy on first, I think. So I want to make sure grab our fuselage here. Separate these two. So F2, he's going to go in here somewhere. They show right against here. It's a little bit of a mystery how he sits in here. Looks like sits in here. Looks like he sits like this. It's got this little bit of a notch right here. It looks like maybe it sits like this. Like that. Sits on there like this. Like that. That sure is shooting is what it looks like. Just like that. Which is definitely different. Okay, we're going to go with that. I'm going to say that's how it's supposed to go. Which makes lining it up a little bit of a challenge. There, there. Okay. Just like that. You can see where I had my finger on there and where glue got it. But a little bit of sandpaper, clean that up, not a problem. Okay. I actually should refer to my other kit and see if that's actually accurate, if it's supposed to be like that. So it seems a little strange to have that. Let's just flip the page and see if it shows me something. They do show it here where my finger's pointing. They do show it sitting there like that. So I guess that is the way it's supposed to go. Alrighty. So we'll leave that and we'll clean up our other bits. Especially these ones where it's going to come in contact with the other side. You definitely want to have these, clean up your nubs on the tips of these. You don't want anything sticking higher than it's supposed to. Okay, that's going to interfere with the fitment. So even if you, like what I did, just kind of file them down a little bit. 1/2 millimeter short is better than 1/2 millimeter long. Okay, you want them definitely fitting in. For example, this guy here, you want him to fit right here. That's got to fit in there flush and flat. Okay. Conversely, up at the top, you need this to fit in here. Okay, and that's got to fit flush and flat because that's where it's going to go, right? And as I was pointing out before, you get this, you've got a little bit of play. So you've got to make sure these sit straight up and down perfectly. Okay? Which, what I want to do is I want to use my slower glue, not my quick one. And I want to use that and then put it together and make sure they all line up. And if I have to later on, I'll add more glue to make sure that everything fits. This guy goes in here. I realize I'm doing it off camera. We got F5 goes here. This goes right in the tip, like that. Doesn't matter which way it goes. This guy is fine. He's happy just like that. Okay. This guy has to be cleaned up here and here. Okay. This guy's going to go in the front. He's going to go right here. Okay. Next one, F4, our little block. He's going to go. How does he go? He's got a couple little pins, and he sits just like this. I would say he's kind of a redundant piece that's not necessarily necessary. He's just going to sit flush against the bottom of this, I think, and that's it. Or he might sit and wind up in there like this. But look at it. Yeah, he's going to wind up back here, just like this, somewhere in there somewhere, right? A little bit redundant when you've got a brace here and here. This is a little bit redundant, right? But it's not bad. Just want to make sure you don't have any seam lines, any parting lines, nothing that's going to prevent it from actually going in flush. I am going to glue him in right now because he doesn't have any peg to line up. He just sits at the top. Okay, so glue here, here along this edge. Okay, and line up your little holes. There. Okay, and that's where he's going to sit. Okay, so next, F6 is already in, right there. I'm going to glue this guy in on this side now, and again I'm going to use my thin. Let's just move him out of the way for now. Hold that there. There we go. Alright, so those two pieces are in. We know this guy goes here. Okay. We have a few more. A few more. And when I say a few, that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 pieces. Okay, all off of our E trees. 65, 66, 57, 69, and 70, and 72. All off of our E tree. '72 is a smaller one. These are another one that's a little redundant because we've got the engines that are going to go in. These go right behind the engines like this. So we already have these pins here that are going to help us line up. And then right behind the engines we've got more. It's a little redundant, but whatever. 65 and 66, that's these two here. Okay. Now we need 69. We need 57 is this big guy here. Now we need two of all of these, right? There's 57. Where is 69? Right here. And we need 70. What we don't need right now is 71. 71 we don't need this yet. I imagine this is going to be for the intake, and so we don't need that just yet. So let's grab them all off of this one. This will be easy to tell which ones are which, because these ones are all black. Nobody chatting, eh? What's the point of going live if nobody's going to chat with me? A little disappointing. Oh well. I should be used to it from my Twitch, when I was live on Twitch all the time. Okay. That's all of them. So, see where these all go. First of all, we've got to make sure these are all clean and they're going to mount. And then glue them all down. And then that's it. And then 66s, which are our slightly thicker ones, go there. Then we have our engine, the ones near the engines. I don't think it matters whether you have them this way or this way. I don't think that makes any difference. Go there. And our engines, we line them up right there, just like that. And these go in right behind them. It's actually supposed to kind of go in. These kind of tuck in. These guys, they kind of tuck in right inside like that. They fit into that little slot like this, right? So if you can, you do it kind of all at once. I think what might be easiest actually is to put the engines in on the top, as far as getting them lined up. Actually no, what I'm going to do, I'm going to do this first. This is what I'm going to do first. Put the engines in, right in a spot. Put this in, kind of like this, and this guy, like that. Okay, so now they are in where they're supposed to go. Okay, and I'm going to glue them. Glue them to the engines. Okay. This one doesn't want to cooperate and stay there, so I'm going to hold him. And while I'm holding that, let's move these out of the way. Put these in their spots. Hey, where'd you go? Get back here. There's a couple of these that are really firm and they don't move anywhere. Like these bigger ones, these got no play in them at all, so I think I can get away with gluing those just as they are. This guy is already glued, so he's fine. A few of them just don't have any play, and so that makes it a lot easier as far as gluing them down, right? And making sure that's going to be good. What I do want to do is make sure I got no flashing, so everything fits flush. And I don't want any hiccups. Hiccups are bad. Things like these ones, there's no play in them. I'm gluing them down. They're gluing down and they're staying in their home. There's no play at all. They're flush, they're good, they're done. I do seem to remember on my other kit, I did have one or two that did not line up at all. I couldn't make them line up, and I wound up trimming off the knob that's supposed to go into the hole. I seem to remember that when I built this kit before. And it wasn't a big deal. I just didn't have the alignment perfect, and so it wouldn't go. And so you might run into the same thing, and if that happens, for example, if this will not fit, it just doesn't line up on the top fuselage, just take your nippers and nip that nub off, and at least you've got it flush on there, and it'll flush on that spot, and that's really all you need. These ones, they got a little bit of play. The thing is, once you glue it, you have a small window of time to do any adjusting. See, this one could go back and forth. Possible. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to glue like one spot on these four. This one, this one, this one, this one. And then put it down. And once it's lined up, then I'll glue them better. Same with this guy, just one spot, one peg. Try and work a little quickly here. I said try and work a little quickly. Come on. Holy crap. Okay. Let's put our fuselage down and hope for the best. They're not lining up. Just like I thought. We've got issues. It's hard to see. It's hard to tell. It seemed to be okay on the engines. My wings are okay. It's the center that is not lined up. And my nose is not lined up. This is fine. I'm going to help myself out here a little bit with some clamps just to help that alignment, because we are not aligned inside. A flashlight would help. That side, see, I go one side is good, the other side is not, and my nose is crooked. This front one is good. I need a it's just this side. Nose is in. It's just the one side. It's not cooperating. This side here is not lined up. And it's almost impossible for me to see why not. Just doesn't want to go. So, with everything else being equal, that means I have one peg I need to cut. So it's just not going to work. So let's lift this off as straight as I can. This guy's stuck in perfectly. So what's his problem? It's this guy. See, this guy's leaned way back. I don't know if that's supposed to be like that or if it's just from when I took it off. In any case, these are fine, so those can glue in. Okay, so glue on there, glue on these. Our engine can go in its home. Okay, those are permanent now. The rest of these are done. Okay. So, with that done, this is where I'm going to leave it here for today, guys. That's going to be it. I'm done. We'll continue on next time with more of this fun stuff of doing all the fuselage parts. Next time, we're going to flip the page and we'll look at a few more things that are supposed to go on the inside of the fuselage, but mainly we're going to be doing the intakes. Okay, that's what's going to be next time. So I want to thank you guys for watching. Thanks for coming out. I know nobody even typed anything in the chat today, but that's all right, no big deal. I do want to encourage you though to check out the description box down below and check out some links that I've got down in there. In particular, my Instagram. You can check out some still photos of everything that I've built in the past. Every time I finish a build, I upload it to my Instagram. You also see a link to my Twitch if you feel like it, although I'm not really doing anything with Twitch anymore, but yeah. So anyway, I want to thank you guys for watching. Thanks for all the support, and we'll see you all in the next one.